Hello, and welcome to the cavnessHR podcast. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. Our guest today is Nicole Kato. Nicole, are you ready to be great today?
Yeah.
Nicole has been working in the hotel and hospitality space for 10 plus years. She started her career working for the Disney parks and eventually became a property manager in Destin, Florida. She has 2 bachelor's degrees from Swarthmore College, a master's in mechanical engineering from the University of Southern California, and is currently working on an MBA in finance from Johns Hopkins University. Nicole started a company called Puddy, which provides guests with up-to-date information about their vacation rental while giving hosts peace of mind throughout the process. Nicole, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So tell me about your company. How did your company come about? What was the process of building your company?
So when I was in Destin, Florida, I got a vacation rental, and during that time I was working full-time, and it just became time-consuming to do the everyday things of having just a single vacation property, sending emails, answering questions, and I said, wait a minute, I have software and I'm a software engineer. So I started building out the one area that I thought caused the most time for me, or the most repetitive time, and that's just answering guests' information. Uh, so check in, check out time, door codes, and things like that. And over time, I thought, I think more people would be interested in something like this. So I made it more customizable and added features like integrating into Yelp and Google Maps. So it really has become a next generation travel guide for individual property managers.
Nicole, this is kind of off the subject, but there's a lot of non-technical people out there trying to build companies and stuff.
Mhm.
Can you kind of explain the process of how building a platform? Because I think a lot of people say, "Oh, I'll just tell my software developer 1, 2, 3, and within minutes it's done." But it takes a lot longer doesn't it?
Yeah. And for software, there's usually 3 main components for a true software application. You'll have your front end and your UX side, which is the guest facing website. It's fast, it's pretty. And then you have your backend server, and that's where everything runs and functions. And then you have usually a database that's connected to it. So, and the first thing you have to do is define what all of those 3 things are going to be and what languages they're going to be in.
Nicole, how long did it take for you to build your platform?
So sitting down and coding it's probably taken me about a year and a half. But this is not the first full stack operation I've developed. So just with experience, it's probably taken me my whole life.
Nicole, you talked about this a little bit, but who is your target demographic for your company?
So I'm really looking for the individual property manager, probably not the tech savvy person, but the person who has one property, probably between the ages of 40 to 60 in age, who's just looking for a little bit of help, but wants to do it in an upscale way.
Does the location of the property matter?
It's easiest in the United States. Most things work internationally, but we have had issues. For instance, in Ireland, I believe they changed how their zip codes work. So it doesn't really work over there.
Okay. And how are you finding these people? You have a marketing plan, word of mouth, or what's your plan for that right now?
So right now we're going through we've had the best luck going through Facebook. We're actually planning on reaching out to more people in the Destin area to start to develop a group. So we're going to start reaching out to restaurants in the Destin, uh, in the Destin area, saying like, if we put one of your promotions up to offer guests 10% off, then we can also have directed marketing as well. Because there's always a couple in the Destin area, because there's so many vacation rentals and they're going up in price, people aren't able to go out as much. So offering some sort of discount system to get basically a win-win.
So Nicole, even though this is 2019, there's still a lot of people out there who are like, we'll say like anti-tech or don't understand tech.
Mm-hmm.
How you convince these people to come onto your platform?
So we are constantly working on it as easy as possible, and we've started to develop a system called um, basically they're flashing buttons. So once you press one button and an action is completed, another button will start flashing. They're all the same. It's a guiding light system, so it will just, you click one, you get to the next step, you click the new flashing button, you answer a question, and we're constantly looking at our numbers to see where people are getting stuck and how to just make it easier.
Nicole, so do only the owners of the guest houses or vacation rentals use the platform, or do also the people renting out the guest houses use it also?
It's so you can have employees on the system. So the owner can have it and then share it with an employee, but also in the Destin area, because Destin has a very entrepreneurial spirit. So we have a lot of people who work for vacation renters, but may also have their own properties. So we develop a system similar to like Google Drive, where you can share guides instead of having a standard uh, boss to employee relationship.
Nicole, can you talk through some of the challenges you've had as an entrepreneur?
Really, it is trying to get people to use the platform and to stay with it. We're looking really optimistically with this promotion system, because personally I've always been working in this world of guest experience and guest improvement and just making people happy. Um, but it's just getting other people to believe in this type of system.
I think one challenge too is like a lot of people, they expect everything for free, right? So they want free
Yes.
this, free that. And so you give them free, 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 and then you ask them to pay, like, well, why I gotta pay for it? It's gonna be free.
hmm
So
And
that's been a
that's,
challenge.
yeah, and it's not just free, they want free and something else. And that's why we're going to this promotional system, because like if you offer all of your guests 10% off at a restaurant, you're making your money back easily with even one guest in a month.
Yes. Nicole, can you change the subject a little bit? Can you talk about your time as a CTO and your experience as a female in STEM?
Um, sure. I think so I was raised in, I think, much more of a gender neutral environment than most women. My dad was an Eagle Scout and he raised me to grill and live outdoors. So me with a bunch of guys never really fazed me, I think. But uh, yeah, and I think it never felt really weird, and no one ever treated me like, because I'm female, it's wrong, but you definitely have to be on top of your game. Um, I had a friend and he said that if it comes down to a woman versus a man, in tech I'll always hire the woman because she had to work 10 times harder. And you sort of see that with my resume, with working on my fourth degree and really having to push myself to just be on top of the game constantly.
So, Nicole, what advice do you have for a female, or actually anyone trying to get into STEM right now?
You can always do something at home for free. Um, I think that, yeah, and that's something I see just when I'm interviewing people for positions, that people say, oh, I have a certification in, let's say, databases. And I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. What did you do with your certification? Like, did you set up a database? And they're like, no, I got certified. Like, so what database did you work in? They're like, I don't know. And that's a pretty quick, like, okay, I need to find someone else. But if there's some kid, I mean, even if a kid dropped out of high school who's been hacking into stuff and has built even just a WordPress site, that's more impressive to me than some sort of certification.
And I think that's good advice for entrepreneurs too. Like, the entrepreneur, never pay for anything. There's a way to get it for
hmm
free most of
Yeah.
the time. And then follow-up question: what advice do you have for brand new entrepreneurs just getting started?
So I think I talked to, um, well, it doesn't matter whether they're military or not,
No, it
or
doesn't. It doesn't matter.
I think try to find as many mentors as possible, or people to just talk to, because they will help guide. they just will help you think things through a little bit better. Um, how I'm actually working with a guy, Matt Jones, right now, and someone told me that the trick is you need to learn to sell. And I've sort of hit this wall where I'm great in tech and I can build things, but I'm the WAS. I need a jobs. um, and a lot of successful entrepreneurs, you end up pairing up between a salesperson and a builder. Very few people can do both, and just sort of accepting that at some point. But even just the initial partnering with someone and finding someone, uh, I mean, it just pushes you so much faster than doing it by yourself.
Yes, that's why I say that, usually solo founders have the hardest time, unless you
Hmm.
just unless you're like just Elon Musk Jr. or something, you got to find someone else to help you out.
Yeah, and even he had developers. There were still other people next to him helping him along the way, and that part does. I just don't think it gets emphasized enough.
Yes. So, Nicole, on your LinkedIn, it says you do some mentoring for, I think it's called Veterari. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Can
Yeah.
you talk about that a little bit?
So Veterabi is basically a group where if you're military, you can sign up with LinkedIn and you can just look for mentors, and then you set up a schedule a time to talk with someone. Um, it's like Tinder for mentoring. So you set up a time, you meet someone, and if it works in a half hour, then or an hour, you can continue talking. And it's just been a great way for me I can meet with someone, talk with them about an issue. If I like them, we can continue talking. If we don't, I never have to see them again.
Nicole, can you talk about your military experience?
So my husband is in the United States Air Force, and we met when we were at Edwards Air Force Base in California. And I was working at Disney, and we decided to move to Eglin, Florida. I needed just a new change of scenery at that point. And in Florida, I got a job working for a automotive CRM group. I ended up getting converted, but it wasn't the right fit. I won't discuss it right now. It was not good. And then I ended up in environmental obsolescence, and I moved my way from consulting to being the CTO there. And after Florida, at the very end, we got married, and we thought we were going to move to one place, and then the Air Force said, "No, you're going to Dayton, Ohio." um, so it's really a lot of this entrepreneurship was figuring out what to do um, when life just sort of spins in a way that you weren't expecting.
Yes.
But I'm a very proud military spouse, and just there are jobs as a military spouse, and the higher your spouse's rank is, the more jobs you have.
Yes, and to add on that, you don't get paid for those jobs.
No.
You're supposed to do it because you're the wife of a certain rank,
Hmm.
and if you don't do it well, it's like, okay, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they give you no training for it. You just expect to do it.
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot of things I enjoy, but also explaining to a boss that I have this obligation to the military, but I'm not an officer, or like I am a spouse. And it gets difficult, and especially the higher ranks you get, it gets even more difficult trying to explain that to a boss. So that's part of the reason I gravitated towards entrepreneurship. But also just uh, we're probably moving every 2 or 3 years, and I need a job that will go with me, that I can grow with the job, instead of there's a lot of remote jobs in software where you may not get promoted. Um, and that has always been a big concern of mine.
Yes, I don't think most people realize that military spouses have the highest unemployment demographic in the country. I think it's like last time I looked, it was like 20 to 25%. On top of that,
Yes.
the underemployment rate is like probably 70 to 80%.
Yeah. And at the peak of the recession, it was around, I think, 12% for civilian or non-farming civilians. So we're double that on a regular basis. And there's just a lot of, issues within the system that make it more difficult to find jobs.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent in the military spouses pool, but the military, you move every 2 years. So, paying devil's advocate, if you're employer, do you really want to hire someone you know is going to move every 2 years? Maybe,
Hmm.
maybe not. It's just a lot of challenges. And of course, the military doesn't help either because they move everyone every 2 years
Hmm.
and don't keep the spouse in mind. Yeah, it's definitely a broken system, I think.
Yeah, and there's ways that you just, when you start talking to more military spouse friends, you just feel that companies are trying to push you out more so than trying to include you. And then they thank your husband for their service, and you're sort of pushed off into that little corner, like, but I left my job. Like,
Yes, I know. Yeah, it's a challenge. So, Nicole, can you talk some about Bunker Labs and how Bunker Labs has helped you out?
so I mean, it's created a remote community for me to really just find people. I'm part of the online group, so it's been able to find fellow entrepreneurs. I met Matt Jones through Bunker Labs. He joined the online group, and I said something like, "Oh," or he was looking for a software person because he's the jobs, and I said, "I think I can fill this spot for you. Like, no problem."
Great. So, what's your long-term vision for your company?
Right now, it's to just um, start growing. We're going to take a little time off to really analyze how we want to remarket stuff. But we're also working with Matt Jones he's built this system to market golf courses. So we're hoping to launch that by spring of next year, in addition to the restaurant promotion system that we're doing in Destin, Florida.
So, is a plan? I mean, I hate to use this comparison, but is a plan to be like the Airbnb of guest house rentals or something like that, or something different?
We're probably something between an Airbnb and a CRM.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Airbnb is really great for renting a place, but that guest experience that just doesn't exist on Airbnb. And and a big issue in the Destin area is there have been a lot of complaints about how it's not the most friendly when it comes to hotel and hospitality, or for the guests specifically, and it's trying to correct for that behavior.
Are you currently bootstrapping everything, or were you able to raise funds yet, or take a loan out? How actually are you doing that?
Um, because I'm a software engineer, I just built it by myself. My sister is a cloud engineer, so she's been able to build stuff at very low costs. And right now, it's just we're living off of my husband's income, but Ohio is very inexpensive.
Yeah, yeah. Versus Silicon Valley or Seattle, Austin, one of those areas.
Yeah, um, yeah.
I think that's some more advice, like entrepreneurs. If you're building something tech related, there's a lot of free options out there. Like Google Cloud Platform, AWS, they have like free options for entrepreneurs. You
Hmm.
just have to do the research and figure it out.
Yeah, and I do think there are probably more software people than you think are out there that are looking for someone who can sell, or they're going to be people who are starting to hit that wall of, I just am not, I need to find a partner.
Yes, Nicole. I understand you have something for our listeners today.
Yeah, so if anyone who has a property who would like to join our Putty group, you can go to puddy.io, pudd.io, and get a free upgrade to our standard plan, which on top of can create a free guest guide, but our standard plan will let you do guest specific information, set up automated emails for your guests by using the access code bunker, BUNKER, all lowercase.
Nicole, can you share your social media for yourself and your company so people can reach out to you?
Yeah. So if you can join our social media by just going to puddy.io and just scrolling to the bottom. If you want to reach out to me specifically, you can email me at customer@puddy.io.
Nicole, quick question. So a lot of entrepreneurs are non-tech and they're trying to figure out how to build a platform.
Mhm.
What's your advice on trying to build someone internal, like hiring a senior developer, CTO, or outsourcing to like a software development company, either here or outside the United States?
So if you're an entrepreneur and you're short on funds, try to find someone, I would say, within the United States who has a similar interest. It would surprise you what a lot of engineers are willing to do for free. I love building. Um, I'm pretty busy right now, but I'm sure there's another Nicole somewhere. Offshores can, like, some are great. I've worked with offshores in at least 5 different countries so far, but it's not a set it and forget it type system. There's a lot of work involving interacting with offshores, making sure things run properly. And for, let's say, like a noob in the industry, I would stay away from it.
So Nicole, like with anything else, there's great developers and not so great developers. What would be advice for someone who's trying to hire a developer to pick the right one? What should they be looking for or not looking for?
So I personally think motivation is probably the best thing. Most software companies are either an open source or they're a .NET. So if you're a .NET shop, stay with .NET developers. If you're an open source, stay with open source. For a senior developer, I'm usually looking somewhere at least 24. I want to see that they worked somewhere big, so that they understand what it takes to scale something up. But for an entry level person, honestly, I want someone who got their hands dirty with something at home. Um, yeah.
I know the challenge here in the Seattle area is like a lot of the junior developer jobs in Seattle, they'll say, entry level, but 2 years experience. So all the developers like, well, I just graduated from college or coding academy. I don't have 2 years experience. And I've tried to tell them, well, no, they're expecting you to do some kind of internship, put something on
Mhm.
GitHub, some kind of project, some kind of
Yeah.
portfolio, something. And a lot of them are not getting that, unfortunately,
Yeah. I mean, anything on GitHub is great. I got my first job because I interviewed for Accenture, and I honestly thought I was going to be sent to LA Air Force Base to work on GPS systems, because in college. I built this basically a vehicle positioning system using common filters, and it updated on Google Maps, and I was so excited about how this thing worked. And the math involved, because it was like this introductory controls like 10 years ago. And basically I got through my interview. I'm like, okay, so I'm joining the Air Force as a civilian. This will be great. And he's like, no, we like the website. Like, we could care less about the math.
Oh, man. Hey, one thing I forgot to mention. So Nicole's offer and her social media links will be on our show notes. And you can find our show notes at www.cavnessHRblog.com. Nicole, we're coming to the end of our talk. Can you give us any last minute wisdom or advice on anything you want to talk about?
I think just keep chugging is really something that I learned at Disney. Is we love to push the boulder and we push it forward. And I think a lot of software people or entrepreneurs, at some point, they give up. And what really stood out to me at Disney that I do take in every day is just keep pushing forward.
That's great advice and much needed advice to a lot of people. Because it's not easy being an entrepreneur. Sometimes you got to dig deep and keep on going.
And you never know what will hit. I think that's the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. You too.
To our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great every day.